All right, today we're jumping into a foundational myth about sacrifice and what it means to be a nation. It's an incredible story about how one man, with just a single arrow, literally drew a country's border on the wind. You know, most epic stories kick off with a bang, the clash of swords, a king's roar. But this one, totally different. As you can see, it starts quietly. It's a story that's defined not by all that noise, but by the deep, profound silence of one man's final, ultimate sacrifice. Okay, so let's set the scene. We're in a land that is just completely worn out by war. For years, this devastating conflict between Iran and Tehran has been raging. People are tired, the land is tired. So finally, they call a truce. But it comes with this really strange, almost impossible condition. So here's the deal. No fancy treaty, no lines drawn on a map. The new border between their lands would be marked by wherever a single arrow landed. I mean, can you imagine the entire fate of a nation literally riding on one guy and one single shot? And this right here tells you everything you need to know about the stakes. The Turanians, they were smiling. They were thinking, no way, the distance is huge, the winds are crazy, this is an impossible task. They were pretty sure they'd just won the lottery. Meanwhile, the Iranians were just worried. Their whole future was hanging on a bet that seemed completely destined to fail. So, you've got this moment of incredible national anxiety. The odds are stacked against them. Who on earth is going to step up for this monumental, seemingly impossible job? And then, out of the silence of the camp, one guy steps forward. His name was Arash. He wasn't a king. He wasn't some famous general covered in medals. He was just a man. Someone who came out of the crowd when no one else would. So what made him the guy for the job? Well, it wasn't about his rank or how strong he looked. It was something way deeper. The story says his hands knew the secret of the bow, and his heart knew the secret of the land. He had this innate, almost mystical connection to his home that nobody else did. With those 4 simple words, he accepted the challenge. But everybody there knew what it really meant. The elders even warned him, saying, "Your strength will go into the arrow. You will not return." And Arash? He just bowed his head. He'd already made peace with it. This wasn't just about shooting an arrow. It was about becoming the arrow. Okay, this is it. The moment of truth. At dawn, Arash is brought to the top of a mountain. The wind is picking up, the sky is getting lighter, and he gets ready to take that one final shot. You know, this wasn't just him warming up. This was a ceremony. First, he takes off his clothes, basically to show everyone, look, no tricks up my sleeve. It's just me, just bone and will. Then he picks up his bow, just an old piece of wood, and he closes his eyes. Not to aim, but for a final goodbye. A farewell to his family, to the land, to everything he knew. And then he poured his entire life force into that bowstring. And in that moment of absolute perfect stillness, with every last bit of himself channeled into that one arrow, he lets it go. And what happened next? Well, it was something straight out of a legend. The arrow didn't just fly. It was like a messenger on a divine mission. The wind itself seemed to carry it, and for a full day and night, everyone just watched it go. It just soared from that mountain peak, flying out over these huge open plains, this tiny speck against a massive landscape. And it just kept going. It leaped over wide, rushing rivers that used to be these huge obstacles, but it crossed them in a heartbeat. And it still wasn't done. The arrow cut straight through dense forests, traveling farther and farther than anyone could have possibly imagined, until finally, way off in the distance, it landed, embedding itself in the trunk of a tree. So, an absolutely miraculous shot, right? But what did it actually mean? What was the result of this incredible flight? And, more importantly, what happened to Arash? Well, the result was just huge. As you can see, Iran's border exploded outwards. The nation gained all this new territory, all thanks to that one impossible journey. People celebrated, of course, but that joy was mixed with a real, profound sadness. See, when they went back to that mountain peak to celebrate with their hero, he was gone. There was nothing left of him. He had poured his entire being, his body, his soul, everything, into that arrow. All that was left was a silent bow on the ground that, they say, smelled of sacrifice. And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? From that day on, Arash became more than just a name. It became the name of a choice. The choice to put your whole soul on the bow string when your country is down to its very last shot. He became the living symbol of selfless sacrifice. Which leaves us with this one last kind of beautiful thought. Maybe this is why, every time the wind blows across those mountains and plains, it feels like the story of Arash is being told all over again. A story that isn't made of words, but of spirit, carried on the air forever.